What happens when two of Hollywood's brightest stars collide on live television in a way no one expected? Today we're breaking down the jaw-dropping moment that had viewers glued to their screens as Zendaya, usually the picture of poise and professionalism, reached her breaking point during what was supposed to be a lighthearted interview on the Kelly Clarkson Show. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment on what you think really fueled this explosive clash. The stage was lit, cameras rolling, and Kelly Clarkson eased into her trademark purple chair, her smile radiating the warmth that made her show a daytime favorite. Across from her sat Zendaya, elegant in a cream blazer, posture impeccable, expression sereine. The audience buzzed with excitement, phones raised, ready for another charming celebrity chat, filled with laughter and anecdotes. Kelly opened as she always does, with enthusiasm. "Zendaya, you look stunning today. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Everyone's been talking about your new projects." Zendaya smiled politely. "Thank you, Kelly. It's always a pleasure to connect with your audience." The first few minutes played out smoothly. Questions about film roles, directors, and behind-the-scenes stories. Zendaya delivered thoughtful answers, graceful as ever, even trading a few light jokes with Kelly to the audience's delight. But then the tone shifted. Kelly leaned back, her voice losing some of its cheer. "You know, Zendaya, I've followed your career for years, and I have to ask something that's on a lot of people's minds. There's been this ongoing debate in Hollywood about young actors, whether they're truly prepared for the level of fame and responsibility that comes with these massive roles." The room stilled. Zendaya's smile froze, her jaw tightening, almost imperceptibly. "I'm sorry. Could you clarify what you mean by that?" Kelly's grin stayed fixed, but her words cut sharper. "Well, I mean, you've been handed these enormous franchises, Spider-Man, Dune, and some industry insiders wonder if actors your age really have the life experience to carry that kind of gravitas. Maybe Hollywood is too quick to hand over iconic roles to the younger generation." The air went heavy. Even the hum of the cameras felt louder. Zendaya's voice dropped cooler, more controlled. "Are you suggesting I'm not qualified for the roles I've worked for?" Kelly raised her hands, feigning innocence. "Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just voicing what others have discussed. When I started in music, I had to prove myself again and again. Show that I wasn't just a reality show contestant looking for a quick rise." The comparison landed like a challenge. Zendaya's posture straightened, her tone sharpening. "Kelly, with respect, our paths are very different. I've worked professionally since childhood. Every role I've landed came through auditions, hard work, and dedication to my craft." Kelly hesitated, but instead of retreating, pressed forward. Of course. I didn't mean otherwise. But you have to admit, there's a certain privilege in being young and beautiful in Hollywood. Doors open more easily for some." The audience shifted uneasily. The tension was unmistakable. Zendaya's voice carried an edge now. "You're making assumptions about my career that aren't grounded in reality. Youth and beauty don't carry a performance. Talent and commitment do. To suggest otherwise isn't just inaccurate, it's insulting." Kelly tried to soften, but only fanned the flames. "I'm sure you work hard, but let's be honest. Some people do have natural advantages, and there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that." For the first time, Zendaya's composure cracked. Her eyes flashed. "Natural advantages? Kelly, what exactly are you implying?" The audience held its breath. The smile on Kelly's face faltered as she realized the interview had slipped beyond her control. I'm just saying, everyone's path looks different. Some smoother than others, that's all. Zendaya leaned forward now, her tone sharp, her words cutting through the silence like glass. Zendaya's tone cut through the silence like steel. If you have something specific to say about my career or my qualifications, Kelly, then say it. Don't hide behind implications. The audience was riveted now, watching what had become less an interview and more a high-stakes chess match. Kelly hesitated, then drew in a breath. When she spoke, her words carried a polished edge that landed with the weight of condescension. Look, Zendaya. Representation matters in Hollywood right now. Casting directors are looking for diverse faces. That's a wonderful thing. But it also means some actors are getting opportunities they might not have gotten in past generations. The impact was immediate. A stunned silence fell over the studio. Zendaya blinked, her face shifting from disbelief to simmering fury. Her voice, when it came, was quiet, dangerously quiet. Kelly, are you suggesting that my success comes from my race, not my talent? Kelly's eyes widened. She clearly recognized the landmine she'd just stepped on, yet instead of retreating, she forced a nervous laugh. That's not what I said. I'm talking about the industry as a whole, about how things are changing. More opportunities for everyone. That's a good thing. Zendaya suddenly rose, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. The sound echoed in the silence, sharp and final. No, Kelly, that's exactly what you said. You just told a national audience that my career is the result of diversity quotas, not years of work and dedication. The cameras stayed trained on her as Kelly remained seated, her hands gripping the arms of her chair. Zendaya, please, sit down. I think there's been a misunderstanding. But Zendaya was done playing the polite guest. Her voice rose, controlled but searing. There's no misunderstanding. You've reduced everything I've done, every role, every audition, every sacrifice, to a box checked on a casting form. The audience froze. Some still held up their phones, but even they seemed stunned by the weight of what was unfolding. Kelly leaned forward, her voice urgent, pleading. That's not what I meant, and you know it. I was speaking generally about the industry. Zendaya gave a bitter laugh, one that chilled more than it amused. Generally, Kelly, you looked me in the eye and questioned if I had enough life experience. You implied my looks opened doors, and now you're suggesting my race is the reason. I get cast. There's nothing general about that. For the first time, Kelly stood, her composure cracking. Zendaya, I think you're overreacting. This is what happens when people can't have honest conversations about difficult topics. The words detonated. Zendaya's eyes blazed, her voice icy and deliberate. Overreacting? You publicly questioned my qualifications, then dismissed my response as hysteria. That is the problem. The crew glanced nervously at each other, unsure whether to cut the feed or let the moment run. Kelly's voice rose, defensive now. I'm trying to have a real conversation about real issues in Hollywood. I'm not the villain here. Zendaya shook her head slowly, her disappointment palpable. A real conversation would mean respect. It would mean acknowledging that actors of color fight twice as hard to prove themselves, not implying we're handed roles we don't deserve. Kelly's face flushed red with embarrassment. I never said you don't deserve your roles. You're putting words in my mouth. Both women now stood, facing each other across the small coffee table like adversaries in a courtroom. Zendaya's voice was clear, commanding, impossible to ignore. I don't need to put words in your mouth, Kelly. Your words spoke for themselves. Kelly threw her hands up in frustration. Fine, then let me be clear. You're talented, yes, but Hollywood right now gives certain groups advantages that weren't there before. The audience audibly gasped. Zendaya's eyes flashed with fury. Advantages? Do you know how many auditions I've been to where I was the only person of color in the room? How many times I've had to convince executives that audiences could connect with someone who looks like me? I didn't walk into privilege. I had to fight my way through prejudice. Her voice cracked slightly, raw and vulnerable in a way she rarely showed publicly. Kelly faltered, caught off guard by the sheer force of the confession. I didn't know that. I'm sorry you went through those things. But Zendaya didn't soften. And do you know what's worse? Having someone like you, someone who knows what it's like to be underestimated, turn around and do the exact same thing to me on your own show. Kelly's voice shot back, defensive once more. That's not fair. I've always supported other women in this industry. Zendaya bent down, lifted her purse from beside the chair, and straightened with deliberate poise. Every movement radiated control. Supporting other women means more than just saying, "It, Kelly." It means not questioning their qualifications based on stereotypes. The tension in the studio was unbearable now. Everyone knew the moment was barreling toward something final. Kelly leaned forward, desperation creeping into her voice. Zendaya, please, don't leave like this. We can work through this. Zendaya paused at the edge of the set. She turned back, her expression carved from equal parts sadness and resolve. Kelly, some conversations can't be smoothed over in the moment. Some damage can't be undone with a quick apology. The finality in her tone hit the audience like a cold wave. What had begun as a daytime interview was now unraveling into something deeper, a rupture in trust and respect. Kelly's voice cracked. Zendaya, I respect you enormously. I always have. I think there's been a miscommunication, and I'd love to clarify what I meant. Zendaya's hand tightened on the strap of her purse. When she spoke, her voice carried a weariness beyond her years. Kelly, the problem isn't miscommunication. The problem is that what you meant came through loud and clear. You questioned my readiness. You suggested my success was built on advantages instead of merit. And then you implied diversity is the only reason I get cast. The audience sat frozen, absorbing every word. Kelly reached out, her hand trembling. That's not what I believe about you. I think you're incredibly talented. Zendaya let out a hollow laugh, stripped of any warmth. Kelly, you can't spend 20 minutes doubting someone's qualifications and then expect a compliment. To erase it. That's not how respect works. Kelly's voice grew urgent, almost pleading. But I do respect you. I invited you here because I admire you. I think you're misunderstanding my intentions. Zendaya shook her head slowly, her disappointment cutting deeper than anger. Intentions don't matter nearly as much as impact, and the impact of what you said tonight is clear. You told millions of viewers that actors of color should have their achievements questioned in ways others don't. The words landed like a blow. For the first time, Kelly had nothing to say. Zendaya adjusted her blazer with calm precision. I've spent my career proving I belong in every room I enter. I shouldn't have to prove it again on your show. Kelly's whisper was barely audible. I never wanted you to feel that way. This was supposed to celebrate your success. Zendaya's reply was sharp, almost surgical. A celebration would have meant talking about my craft, my preparation, the directors I've worked with, the challenges of bringing characters to life. Instead, you chose to question whether I deserved to be here at all. Kelly made one last desperate attempt. "Zendaya, please. As one professional woman to another, don't leave like this. Let's end on a positive note." Zendaya paused. For a flicker of a moment, it seemed she might reconsider. But when she spoke again, her voice carried an unshakable finality. "Kelly, sometimes the most positive thing you can do is refuse to participate in conversations that diminish your worth, or the worth of others who look like you." With that, she turned and walked toward the exit, her heels clicking against the floor in a rhythm that echoed through the stunned silence. Kelly's voice broke. "Zendaya, please. I'm sorry if I hurt you. That was never my intention." Zendaya stopped, but didn't turn around. Her voice carried clear across the studio. "Kelly, the road to harm is paved with good intentions. The question isn't what you meant. It's whether you're willing to learn from the impact of your words." "I am willing to learn," Kelly cried out. "I want to understand. Please, give me that chance." For a brief moment, Zendaya's shoulders softened, but when she finally turned back, her decision was firm. That learning has to happen on your own time, not during a live interview where my reputation is questioned in real time. The studio seemed to hold its breath as Zendaya delivered her last words. "I hope you do learn, Kelly. Supporting other women isn't just lip service. It's refusing to contribute to the systems that reduce our achievements to anything less than talent and hard work." Kelly stood frozen, tears brimming, as Zendaya offered a final look, part grace, part heartbreak. "I believe you're sorry, but sorry doesn't undo what happened here." And with that, Zendaya walked out of the studio, leaving behind a stunned audience and a devastated host. Kelly remained standing, her face etched with regret and confusion. The cameras lingered on her silence before she finally whispered, "We're going to take a break." The confrontation would be replayed endlessly, dissected for years. And it left behind one undeniable truth. Sometimes the strongest statement isn't what you say. It's when you decide to walk away.